A jury now controls the fate of Joseph Rocco. That jury received the case just after 4 this afternoon and must now decide if 21-year-old Rocco should be found guilty or innocent of one of 3 degrees of murder. Tom Dillon is standing by live outside 2nd District Court in Ogden with a report on today's final arguments. Tom?
Dick, if the final arguments were any indication of how long it may take the jury to find Joseph Rocco guilty or innocent, we may be in for a long night.
The country of Guatemala apparently has a new government tonight. Early this morning, troops and jet fighters were rushing in and over the capital. The former defense minister is now in control. David Smith reports on the leader who was ousted and the history of unrest in that Central American country.
Gross months hard line against left-wing guerrillas.
The historical religious feud in Northern Ireland continues in part because of the English presence there, and in part by the American-Irish organizations funneling money and arms to the IRA. Some of those American supporters were in Belfast for a march. Michael McMillan of our British affiliate reports from Belfast.
At the head of this 2,000-strong parade,
the AT&T strike probably hasn't hurt your phone service yet, but if the protest goes on much longer, it might. Union spokesmen say as the highly automated phone systems go unattended, breakdowns will occur and the workers won't be there to repair them. They say the weather may be a problem as well. Thunderstorms often interrupt service to several customers at a time. But Bell System Management claims they are handling it. Supervisors are making some repairs and are replacing striking operators at the switchboards. There's a lot going on out there tonight. A lot of thunder showers, and it smells terrible.
That's right. We've got the decaying brine shrimp again.
Stuff off the lake.
That's right. Thunderstorms churn up the lake, and as a result, we get all the debris and the smell from the decaying brine shrimp. So if the smell doesn't get you, some lightning could.
And the humidity might, too.
That's right. One or the other.
Thanks a lot, Clayton. Officials in New Jersey tonight are still trying to find out what caused the collapse of a concrete ceiling in a train commuter station. Bob Berkowitz reports there were 3 inspectors on top of the structure when it broke apart.
The remains of the 200-foot-long ceiling are still on the floor of the commuter station.
Okay, you told us about the illegal gambling going on at Dirks Field. Maybe we get to
We got that
baseball
squared
now.
away. We got the vice squad in on the pot, so we're okay. Yeah, the baseball game tonight, they hadn't hit them out when we left the ballpark in the 5th, but things started happening. And then tomorrow night from 8 until 9:30. And that's a look at sports. Dick?
All right, thank you, Steve. We'll have a final note when Nightcast returns in a moment.
Good evening again, everyone. Our top story tonight, a potentially frightening situation uncovered by reporter Dick Allgire. A former security guard at the Tooele Army Depot says that mustard agent, a dangerous blistering agent, buried in pits at the depot, is now surfacing. Dick is here now with exclusive details. Dick?
The Tooele Army Depot. We know that's where the wet-eye nerve gas bombs were taken. All kinds of chemical weapons are stored there, including mustard agent, a blistering agent used as mustard gas in World War I.
These photos from an Army manual show the effects of mustard agent. It causes blisters. An amount the size of a pinhead will cause large, pus-filled blisters. In gas form, mustard agent affects the eyes and can disable the lungs. This former security guard at the Tooele Army Depot says his superiors told him blister agent buried in the 1950s is now surfacing.
In the first chemical training class that I had, that was taught by Mr. Valdez in charge of chemical munitions at Tooele Army Depot, he made the statement that I think that he was referring to the Army, had buried some mustard agent, and he didn't indicate at that time where it was buried or anything, but that the mustard agent surfaced. It's a very persistent chemical munition, and it surfaced.
That security guard flew with us over the southern end of the depot, over areas where chemical munitions are buried. The rusted containers are clearly visible in pits. The ground around them has turned white, and there is no vegetation. Also clearly visible are danger signs, which warn of buried chemical munitions. Blister agent, according to the Army, is persistent, which means it remains active for decades. As we flew over the area, security patrols showed up to monitor our movements. The security guard told us only a few people know of this problem.
Are they trying to cover this up?
Well, yes, I think they're trying to cover it up. They covered it up when they buried it, but as far as taking any dynamic action or taking any steps to cleaning up the mess, I don't know of any.
Commander of the Tooele Army Depot, Colonel Harry Karaginas, says the problem is primitive disposal techniques that were used back in the 40s and 50s.
Is there blister agent buried at that south area now surfacing?
Well, Dick, there sure could be some remnants of it. That demilitarization site has been in business since 1945. We haven't used it since 1955. Some of the agents that were destroyed there in the early days were mustard, or blister as you call it. And to the best of my knowledge, the majority of that was destroyed back when it was placed in the area, but in my opinion, there may be some traces of it, but we have had no problems with that.
The Army last year completed a study to determine if any of these chemicals might migrate across depot boundaries. That study gave the depot a clean bill of health. Water wells so far show no contamination. Air monitors are in place to detect any vapor that might escape. Tonight at 10, we'll hear more on this from the Army and more from that security guard.
Dick, if you can we be a little more clear on where this is? Now, there are two separate compounds which are part of TAD, aren't they?
That's right. There's the north compound, and then there is 17 miles south in the Rush Valley, the compound where the chemicals are stored. And this is in the very south part of that south compound.
How accessible is the disposal site?
The Army has done some things to make it inaccessible. They've dug trenches across access roads, and they put a fence around the area.
All right. Thank you, Dick. Good report.